Hi everybody, this is Osprey from MyChartCoach.com, and in this video we're going to take a look at the marijuana sector. So first up we're going to take a look at MJ, the Alternative Harvest ETF here. And so the theme in this video is going to be the black candle. Okay, so what is the black candle? On the StockCharts.com charts, a black candle forms when the stock closes up on the day, but it closes below the open. The open was up here near 41, and the close was down here in 39. So even though the previous close was right here, it did close above the open. So this is a signal that even though it was up on the day fractionally, the bears were actually in control. And so that's the theme in the video. I just wanted to get that out of the way. So there's a lot of black candles across the sector. And so what's going on is it needs to hold the pink line. That's EMA4 at 39.61. If that breaks, then you have EMA8 just below at 39.12. If 39 fails to hold, that's where it could pull back, and you could see that middle Bollinger Band at 36.65 tested. Okay, take a look at Hmlsf. This is Horizon's Marijuana Life Science Index ETF. Once again, we have the black candle. Okay, so you have a black candle that formed here, and so that signals that it could possibly pull back. This could just be a pause candle. It's just one candle, and it's a very small real candle body, but it's all about 19 tomorrow. The EMA4 is at 19.11. If that level breaks, that's where it could pull back. You could possibly see that middle Bollinger Band at 17.74 tested. Okay, so take a look at Tlry. So Tlry had a nice day today. It did close up 8%. Check out Fasto. It's still down here at 15, so it's at oversold levels. And then you do have RSI here still above 50 at 52.81. The big level here to hold is the middle Bollinger Band, currently at 103.64. If it were to drop below this dotted purple line, that would signal downside risk. You know, it's held that level for 2 days in a row. The black candle did form today. It had the gap up open, but they drove it lower into the close. It has to get above these three lines to head higher. Once it's above EMA8 at 125.81, that should signal it wants to head higher. Fail to break that level, that's going to signal more consolidation. A drop below that middle Bollinger Band could signal the start of a new downtrend. Okay, let's look at Canopy Growth here. So it had a nice gap up open today above resistance. We were looking for a break above the closing price here on September 4th. And so as you notice, all these candles are hitting this level. There hadn't been a close above, besides fractionally yesterday until today. Notice how they pulled it back and closed it very close to that closing price. It needs to stay above that level. It's right around 52.50. Okay, so if it drops back below 52.50, that's going to signal more consolidation. If that level holds and turns into support, it should come back up here and test this all-time high 56, 57 level. Okay, but yeah, keep an eye on 52.50. Okay, let's look at GWPH here. So yeah, it pushed higher. It's hitting that 170 resistance zone that we talked about in last night's video. You could see here it has this ascending triangle type of pattern going on, and so it's going to need to break horizontal resistance, and so if it can break above the closing price here on the 20th, that should signal it wants to head higher above 170. If it were to drop below ascending support here, that's EMA4 at 165.61, that's going to signal possible consolidation. It's in an uptrend. You know, just the downside risk is if EMA4 breaks and then it starts consolidating, you know, you have the middle Bollinger Band way down there at 148.83. A close above 170 would be very bullish. Okay, let's look at Cronus Group here. So yeah, it didn't have a good day today. Okay, it's been on a 3-day pullback. It's down another 3% today. RSI is still at 54, so it's still in the bull zone. It needs to stay above 50. They pulled the share price back down to this middle Bollinger Band level, currently at 11.49. Today's close was at 11.47. It just closed fractionally below that level. As you can see here, it did this before, and that level held, and it kept the uptrend going. If this 11.50 level were to turn into resistance, that's going to signal downside risk. You could see it come down here and test the lower Bollinger Band in the 50-day simple moving average. So it's going to be really important. You know, there is support at 10, but it will be really important that this 11.50 level holds. The close, you know, below EMA's 4, 8, and 13 is a red flag. You know, they're turning into resistance. That's 2 closes in a row below EMA 4. It needs to get above 11.93. If that level is resistance, it's a signal that the bears are in control. Okay, look at Aurora Cannabis. Okay, another black candle. During an uptrend, when the stocks are pushing higher and we get a gap up open, you know, many times the best thing to do with the black candle is to head to the sidelines, similar to right here, you know, and head back. You know, it did form the doji here, and it was able to keep pushing higher. That was after the gap up open on the volume spike where the whole sector was running. But right now, this black candle is a red flag, and so there is a gap between high of day yesterday and low of day today. A drop down here just above 950 would fill that gap. It needs to hold EMA4 at 937. As you can see, all these candles are forming above that level. If it were to drop below 937, it could pull back, consolidate, maybe test EMA8. It has a very nice uptrend going. It's just a red flag today that it could take a breather. Okay, let's look at Hqf. Yeah, it closed down 2% today. It's in a sideways channel right now. It's been channeling out sideways. You know, volume has really tapered off for these stocks. I don't know if you've been looking at the volume bars as I've been clicking through here, but they've really dropped off. And so what you're looking for is a bullish volume spike. You're looking for you can look at the volume bars down here, a spike and a push through resistance. So far, that's not happening on the last few days. You know, volume has tapered off, and so the bulls have to come back in order to take these stocks higher to the next level. It seems like everybody's kind of in a holding pattern right now, and so for Aphqf here, it's all about 1650. If it can break above that level, it's going to signal upside potential. Right now, it's testing the support zone. You know, EMA 13's been holding there at 1488, and then you have the middle Bollinger Band at 1467. If it were to drop below those levels, that's where it could pull back and consolidate. Okay, take a look at Nbev here, new beverage. All right, so yeah, it pulled back. It still has RSI at 58, so it's still in the bull zone. On Fasto here, you want to see a crossover. If the black line crossed over the red line, it would signal the chart's heating back up. Once again, we have the black candle. So it gapped up above EMA4 at 470, and it pulled back below. It needs to turn that level back into support, similar to back here when it got running. You know, right here, it got above the pink line and got running. That's what you want to see here. And so if that's resistance, it could consolidate, pull back, test these lower moving averages. Right now, there is a gap in between these two candles here to the upside. And so the upside potential is a break above 525. You could get a run up to 575 to fill that gap. Many times an upward gap fill is a climax event. Once again, look at the volume. You know, there's been a big drop off in volume. Many times when you have a declining volume pattern, it sets up a volume spike, but we'll just have to see if volume has left the trade or if it's just taking a breather. We've got the Canadian legalization coming up, and so yeah, we'll see if this is sell the news heading into it or if it's going to get another rally going. Okay, let's look at IGC here. So it did close down 10% today. Notice RSI drop below 70. That is a red flag. Once it's above, it needs to stay above. A drop below is a sell signal. Look what happened back here. Okay, so this is when RSI was above 70, and then it dropped below, and then look at the pullback. Okay, so that's an easy one. So if you want to get something simple out of this video, you know, RSI breaks above 70, it's got to stay above 70. You can see over here, 70, you know, you had a nice push, but then once it broke below, that signaled downside risk. Had the nice push above, now it broke below, it's going to have to get back above 70, otherwise it could consolidate similar to this. And what happened here, it pulled back to the middle Bollinger Band. So the downside risk here is a pullback to the middle Bollinger Band, possibly fill this gap down here, down to the 140s. That is the potential downside risk. Watch EMA4 at 234. As long as that's holding, the bulls are still in control. It will have to break 290 high close resistance to head higher. If it does drop below that level, that is always the red flag. Let's look at Medmin here, Enterprises. Okay, they have lots of dispensaries across the U.S. This is ticker symbol MMNFF, and yeah, and they've also they're partners with Cron Group. Okay, and so they're supposed to have something coming out, and so we'll see what happens with that. If Cron Group is all talk or what's going on, I'm sure they've got something cooking here. But Medmin is pulling back. You know, this is the risk that I see potentially for the larger names that we just showed you, that I just showed you. Is look how the smaller names here. I'm going to show you a couple of charts where they've already started pulling back, and this is the downside risk for the bigger ones. And so yeah, just keep keep that in mind, that we've got some of the little guys that are already breaking down. And so, this came up here and it failed to break resistance at 510. And then the downside risk was that this closed below EMAs 4, 8, and 13 in the middle Bollinger Band, and then now follow through with the bigger push lower. For Mmnff, look for a bounce off the 50-day simple moving average at 382. That looks like a nice target below. If it holds when tested, that should be a good technical bounce level. Okay, it has to break EMA 4 to get that bounce going. Okay, take a look at Hexo Corporation. Okay, so Hyydf. Okay, so this has been in play. It's starting to break down. It closed below EMA 4 today, so that is a red flag at 644. It needs to get back above that level. It's testing EMA 8 at 633. If you see it break 633 tomorrow, it's likely to drop to 6 and test this EMA 13 level. You might even see it drop down to that middle Bollinger Band at 561 if it fails to hold EMAs 4 and 8, so keep that in mind. Okay, so let's look at Nxttf. It had a pretty nasty pullback today. I mean, it was down 16%. This is why I'm trying to look out for everybody. Don't want to see people lose those gains that are up nicely on the big run-ups. And yeah, you can always reload lower. It's another thing if you're watching this and you're a long-term investor, because a lot of these are investable now. But yeah, with Nxttf, notice the drop below 70 on RSI, and then now we've got the pullback. It's all about EMA 13 tomorrow at 238. It breaks 238, you got 221 on deck. That's the middle Bollinger Band. That was tested back here on the 17th, and it held. And so that's going to be the big level. If it were to break, you could see the Medman type of move and a potential drop down there, to that 50 and 100-day simple moving average. Okay, and then finally, let's look at Organogram Holdings. Okay, this is ticker symbol Ogrmf, and they're the takeover candidate. They've got a lot of promise. People, Motley Fool really hyped them up because they do have a lot of potential. But the chart, has been cooling down. RSI is still at 53. It needs to stay above 50. If it got below 50, that would be a red flag. You have Fasto now below 50. Notice the bearish crossover on ADX. So I've been talking a lot about the bullish crossovers, but notice how the green line crossed over the red line to the downside, okay, and the black line over the red line to the downside. It signals that the bears have been taking over. Notice the 3 red candles in a row. Volume has been really light, but notice where are the buyers? The buyers aren't stepping in, and so the buyers need to show up, similar to Bitcoin. And so when Bitcoin peaked and then it pulled back, the buyers just disappeared. And so you always have to watch the volume when you're trading penny stocks. And so 535 is the big level for this stock. It closed below that level for the first time since way back here on the 14th of August. That is a bearish change in trend. If you look back in August, it was able to quickly recover. So tomorrow it has to get above 535. If that level turns into resistance, it could signal a downtrend, and you could see, the lower Bollinger Band and the 50-day simple moving average tested. If it bounces off that level, then you're looking for a break above $6 and this high close resistance level from the 12th. All right, thanks a lot for viewing this video. Please come check out the chat. Thank you.